A Broncos legend is being honored by the team in the best way possible. This is your Denver Sports Daily for May 28th.
The biggest stories, the latest news. It's Denver Sports Daily.
Demaryius Thomas is one of the best receivers in Broncos history, and there's a very strong case to be made that he is the best wide receiver in Broncos history. I mean, the things that he did for this team were insane, and it is more than deserved that he is now a first ballot Ring of Famer for the Broncos. He was selected to be in the Ring of Fame going in this fall, having, again, one of the best careers in Broncos history. And there's a very strong case to be made that he is the best. And what I'll just say about that is that, he's second in receiving yards in a season, receiving yards in a career, second in receiving touchdowns in his career, only behind Rod Smith for those two. Third in career completion percentage or catch percentage. Then he goes and he breaks the record for most receiving yards in a season for the Broncos and most receiving touchdowns in a season for the Broncos. Everything that he did for this team. Now, Thomas only became eligible to enter the Broncos Ring of Fame this year, and it's right that he was selected in his first year. He became the 38th Ring of Famer and the 13th first ballot selection in franchise history, again, due to his outstanding career. You saw those stats. I mean, second in career for yards and touchdowns. Everything that he did was for this team. And he was, of course, the lead receiver on the Super Bowl 50 team and was responsible for one of the greatest plays in Broncos history. And you know exactly which play that I'm going to say. You know what I'm talking about. That 80-yard walk-off touchdown in an overtime win in the 2011 wildcard game. That was against the Steelers. That was just nuts. Tim Tebow aired it out. First play of overtime. And that was actually when they changed the overtime rules towards first touchdown wins the game. Now, of course, they've changed it back. They've tweaked it a little bit, but that's when they changed it to first touchdown wins the game. You could see it on the sidelines. People didn't know if the Broncos actually won. There was still a bit of uncertainty, but he walked it off, 80-yard touchdown. You could talk about so many plays from Demaryius Thomas's career. He was the most loved in Broncos country. I mean, that receiver room, that whole team. I mean, you could talk about that whole team, but that receiver room specifically. I mean, you're just looking at two guys, and Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Those two guys brought this team to a Super Bowl with the help of Peyton Manning, of course. But hey, those were the guys that were responsible. He went down as one of the best receivers in Broncos history. He's my first. I really believe that he is the best receiver in Broncos history. You can argue if you want to, but I really don't think anybody's going to argue that because it's between him and Rod Smith, and Rod Smith had a bit of a longer career with the Broncos. You give Demaryius Thomas that much time on the Broncos, he's breaking all of those records. He's owning the record book for the Broncos. Now, as most people do know, Demaryius Thomas passed away suddenly and tragically back in 2021. And of course, rest in peace to Demaryius. And it's good to know that he will stay in Mile High at Empower Field, looking down on every other receiver coming through this room, watching Courtland Sutton go out there, trying to break those records, but it's not going to happen because Demaryius Thomas set that standard for what it means to be a Broncos receiver. He brought such a good energy, such a good heart to the game. This picture actually up here just really shows how good of a guy he was, just a smiling, laughing guy, loved everybody, loved this team. It's so deserved that he is in the Ring of Fame. Again, in his first year that he was eligible, it was a no call. It just, of course he's going in the Ring of Fame. Nobody gave it a second thought. He deserved it. Now it moves to, is he a Hall of Fame guy? And I'm biased. I don't care if I'm going to say I'm biased because he is a Hall of Famer. He deserves to be. I mean, what he did for this team was insane, and everybody in Broncos country knows what a big deal Demaryius Thomas was and how important it is that he's finally in the Ring of Fame. So congratulations to Demaryius Thomas. Huge for the Broncos. Now moving on, one former NBA legend has a trade projection that could bring the Nuggets back to the NBA Finals. Now, former Finals MVP Paul Pierce is a great basketball mind and has been a very vocal personality in the NBA after retiring years ago. Of course, Paul Pierce is always in the news, not necessarily for good reasons, but he's in there. He's in the news. He's talking about basketball. He knows what he's talking about. I mean, this guy's won a finals MVP, won a few of them, won a few finals rings overall. But Pierce chimed in on the MPJ trade debate a couple days ago and brought up an idea that could be very beneficial to the Nuggets. Quote, I feel like if they had a DeMar DeRozan with that team right now, with Joker, he don't need to be the best player or the second best player every night. He's going to give you more than what Michael Porter Jr. gave you. That's what Pierce said. I agree. That's a very fair statement. And I want to let everybody know I am right there with this. I think that is a great trade idea. There for it. 110%. Now, last season, just comparing the stats, MPJ averaged 18.2 points, 7 rebounds, and 2.1 assists. While DeRozan, on the other hand, averaged 22.2 points. That's 4 more points overall. 3.9 rebounds. It's about 3 less rebounds and 4.4 assists per game. That's over 2 assists more. So if you're just comparing the numbers, yes, DeRozan is averaging much higher numbers than, MPJ is. DeRozan also was leading the Kings to hopefully a playoff berth. Didn't end up making it. Went out in the play-in. But still, DeRozan is a winner. Been in the league for a long time. Now, that's the one downside to this trade. That's DeRozan's age. He's turning 36 in August. But here's what you have to say about that. And it's the same argument that you can make about the Avalanche. When I was talking about, some of these players that the Avs brought in who are a bit older, it wasn't a great decision. But you have to open your mind up a little bit. I was wrong to say that. There were some trades, if we're talking about the Avs, that I could argue a bit. I didn't like. I liked a little bit more, hated, that kind of stuff. But this right here, DeRozan's age. He's turning 36 in August, yes. But if the Nuggets are still in a championship window, getting a role player like him who still plays at a high level, that's the kind of thing that brings you back to the promised land. And calling DeRozan a role player is hard to say. I mean, this guy's a perennial all-star. I mean, he's one of those who's been in the league for forever. Again, 36 years old. And if he has any longevity like LeBron, then hey, get him for 4 more years. But something like this could spark the team. He is a perfect scorer. I love players who live in the mid-range. And the Nuggets don't really have many of that. I mean, if you want to say Nikola Jokic, sure. But he's got that more post move with him. DeRozan will create shots for himself in the mid-range. If anybody says the mid-range is dead or that it's not a high percentage shot, just mute them. Tune them out. The mid-range is still here in the NBA, and DeMar DeRozan has mastered that. He's been on multiple teams, played with Coach Popovich, so obviously had some great coaches leading him around, the Raptors, then the Spurs, then the Bulls, then the Kings. He's on most recently. Coming to the Nuggets could be a chance for him to finally get into a team where he can go and win a championship, do some real positive work, not have to bring everybody on his back, especially when he was on the Bulls. It felt like he was doing that all the time. Zach LaVine was out for a long time. Lonzo Ball, of course, struggling with big injuries. DeMar DeRozan was the key to that team's success. And success is a strange word because when you say success in the Chicago Bulls, you can't really talk about anything in the 2000s except for, a few players, of course, Derrick Rose. But DeMar DeRozan coming to the Nuggets instead of MPJ will provide a scoring boost that's not only better, but much more consistent. You're scoring at a higher clip on better numbers. Bring DeMar DeRozan here. I 100% agree with that idea from Paul Pierce. Now, that'll do it for your Denver Sports Daily. I will be back with you guys again tomorrow. Of course, more news keeps rolling in. Broncos training camp gets closer and closer. The season is honestly just right around the corner. It seems like we're still in May. We got a while to go. We got 2 months until training camp starts. A little bit less than that. But I will see you guys all tomorrow. Until then, y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.